Wing!
I was wondering if you're going to have the belt.
Yeah, of course, of course. The champ is here. What's up, everyone? Welcome to our Daily Magic, the podcast, and also just a space that allows us to connect together and also find ways to cultivate magic in our daily lives. Our belief and our knowingness is the fact that we all are magical beings and we all have a unique magic, and it's just waiting to be expressed. So we wanted to give a personal shout out to what we like to call our MIBs, our magical infinite beings out there. We appreciate you wherever you're looking at us from Facebook Live, on YouTube Live. You may catch us on iTunes as well. We appreciate you guys and we love you so much. How are you doing today?
I'm chilling.
Chilling? Chilling. Okay. Cool. So, I am excited to introduce our guest today. This guy is a magical being with so much wisdom to share, and he does it so effortlessly. I felt the connection with him instantly it was almost 2 years ago when I met you live at a mutual coach that we both work with at the Live Fully Summit that we went to. And just from that connection to what it is now, just knew that he has so much to share. And I'm just excited for what he can give to you guys. And get your popcorn ready, be present, listen to what is about to happen in this episode, because I'm going to be doing that. And I'm sure you're going to learn a lot, not only for yourself, but just a way you could be able to integrate and learn more about his magic. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Delacono.
And listen, trust me.
Yeah.
Forever. It's a forever thing. You didn't, and thank God you didn't add a bunch of other consonants and vowels at the end of it. So we're good. Trust me. I appreciate that. And I appreciate being here with you guys today.
Yes. And also I want to acknowledge the fact that we both have Del in our names. So that's another connection.
Yes, we come from a good lineage there.
So what we usually like to do first is just allow whoever's our guest to just share their story, how they discover their magic, your experience, and we just go from there. So feel free wherever you want to start at and just go from there and just show your magic.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. And it's a blessing to be here. And as well as hopefully that I can give, I can receive too. So I look forward to that from you and from anyone else who's out there. I look forward to receiving, because every time I do something like this, I learn. So where do I come from? I come from just a typical family, right? Mom and dad who worked hard to give us all they could give us. They wanted us to be better and have better than what they had. I have a great brother and grew up in a family loving dogs, loving sports, and always wondering, right? Wondering about people, like how were they getting by? Always having this feeling about seeing somebody and wondering what they were going through. I could pick up on things, right? How was somebody feeling if they looked down or they looked off? And I always wondered, and my heart kind of went out to them. And of course, being a kid and being younger, you just don't walk up to somebody. Well, you might and say, "What's going on?" I'm kind of getting this feeling, and I always had a love for animals. And I would always wonder in the wintertime, where did they go, right? All those animals who are on their own, where did they go and how did they get by? And had a very normal childhood growing up, involved in sports, and had my ups and downs, and got into corporate America and very successful in corporate America. I had people that I ultimately towards the end of my career, I ended up leading and found a magic there in leading people and helping them to achieve what they wanted to achieve, aligning their goals with the company goals and the goals of the organization that I worked for, and how we could all benefit from that. And then as things happen in life, my journey in corporate America was over. Only because of distance and some changes like that, it was given an opportunity to move on, and very grateful for that. But with that came a lot of, like, what do you do now, right? We we get aligned in who we are through that, right? And we take that, we wear that with us, and that's who we are. And then you get that moment like, well, now what do we do? Which brought a lot of things up, a lot of things from the past, as far as, not being present in success, and not looking back kindly on all the success I had and the experiences that I had, and just not being in the moment a lot, which led to a lot of reflection. And that reflection took me back pretty far, and realizing that I had missed out on a lot in life that I had done and accomplished, and had absorbed a lot of, and had tagged a lot of the things that didn't go so well with my own emotions and my own tags of them, and carried them as a big, gigantic weight, big paperweight on my back. I like to call it, Batman has his cape and it helps him fly. I had a cape that weighed 1,000,000 pounds, and every step was an effort. So I realized through a lot of hard journey, that I had missed out on a lot, and I had chosen to take with me all of the mistakes and things that had gone wrong, right? And not seeing them as opportunities, but wearing them as almost, that's who I was. And feeling I could be in a room of people, right? Whether it was with us right now or 100 people, and I could feel alone and not understood and not worthy and not as good as the other people there. So it took a lot of reflection and a lot of work with an amazing coach that we know, and having an amazing wife who was very in this space, right? And who understands people, and who was willing to go on that journey and continues on that journey with me, to realize that I have the magic, I have the power, right? To take all of that and take it with me, and take all of the things that I learned from it and move forward and make the future bright and beautiful and better. And so that led me to wanting other people never to feel alone, whether they were home alone by themselves or in an auditorium with 1,000 people. No one should have to feel alone, right? Everyone has their own worth that they bring to life, and their own special magic that they bring to life. And they should feel that, and they should share it, and they should embrace it, and be in the moment, right? Because tomorrow is not promised. So whatever goes on today, whoever you're talking to today, be in the moment, embrace it and love it, and take it with you and move forward.
Wow. There's so much to unpack, and beautiful, beautiful statement of your story. And there's just so many things that resonate, not only for just myself, but I'm sure it resonates for a lot of people out there. And it was like you mentioned in your journey, how you were wearing that million pound cape. And that's such a great way of illustrating what a lot of us are doing unconsciously. We don't even know it. We just feel like that's who we are based upon those little experiences. That defines who we are. We are unworthy or whatever it may be based upon these little bit of experiences that we did have. And the thing to bring awareness to from that is the fact that, like, we all have gone through something. We all have did things before, but it's like these tools, what do you do with it?
Right. Right. Absolutely right. And at what point do we, because, everybody gets hurt along the way, right? And sometimes people hurt us unknowingly, and sometimes people hurt us knowingly, right? Both. But at what point do we forgive the sins of the people that hurt us and let them go in peace and not take that with us? At what point do we decide to move along in our own journey and on our own love and go forward and take all those things and take that cape and really make it a superhero cape? Because we all have our own magic superpowers, right? I like to think that mine, part of it is communicating, right? And being able to listen and feel people's emotions and what they're going through and empathize with that, and then help them to get to a place where their soul and their spirit desires to be. And we all have that in us. I think for a lot of people, that it's that inner turmoil that goes on, right? It's the cape pulling us backwards that doesn't want us to move forward. And it's our spirit and our soul that's just begging to be let loose and let free and enjoy life.
Yeah. I was just thinking about, as you were mentioning that, just our conversation we had before this even happened in regards to like the past and the pain and those type of things, and how a lot of us now even just suffer through that pain in the moment without doing the work, but also doing the work and feel like you have to suffer even longer to go into. We're just having a discussion because we're both coaches, or Kai's a coach as well, and we were talking about how people come and say, oh, what's the difference between coaching and therapy? And you were just sharing a story how we were talking to somebody, how they're just saying how prolonged like the therapy session could be. And that's definitely a good topic to go into, like the difference that you feel between coaching and therapy type of
Sure.
thing.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and everything has its purpose, right? So everything, and people gain different things from different situations or different techniques. So everything has its place and its purpose for sure. But for me, my experience in coaching and the way I approach coaching is that we don't have to go back forever and spend years trying to figure out who did what and what happened and how to undo all of it, because you can't undo it. You can't undo all of that. What I much prefer, and I found has been successful for me and for people that I've worked with, is let's talk about where you're at right now, right? So if you and I are getting together, Del, what's going on? And when I'm coaching someone, I never bring an agenda. It's always, we start a conversation like this. So how's the last week been? Or how's the last 2 weeks been? What's going on? I try and stay in contact with people, and I try and keep them moving forward because it's their journey, right? They're stuck in the quagmire now, in the mud. We know that, right? So how do we move forward? And what I found is that eventually we'll get to the past. The paradigm will hide it for a while because it's the prison that's been built. It's the safety net, right? If we stay in it, we can't get hurt. We've created this prison so that we can stay here and people can't hurt us if we don't let them in, if we don't let them see the scars, the pain. And if we don't try and do good things moving forward, we can't get disappointed and we can't mess up and we can't do wrong, right? So what I try and do is let's move forward. Let's talk about how you're feeling. Let's lovingly release some of it. Let's talk about the opportunities that are there, and let's continue on the journey moving forward. Let's talk about who you are and what you bring. And ultimately, what is your foundation, right? What are your values and what are your non-negotiables in life? And I quite often find that when we do that, we end up somewhere in the past. Somebody has created, or something has created, a limitation that we've decided to embrace. And at that point, we can make a choice to lovingly thank it, got it, totally understand the lesson, and now I release it. I release the person, I release the experience, and I release the emotion that I've attached to it, and let's start to move forward. We may go back there again, but we'll lovingly go back and do it, and we'll continue to move forward. Let's come back to the present day and say, how can we use that now to move ourselves forward to a better place and give your spirit and soul what it truly desires? To me, it all begins with the foundation. And quite often when I ask that question, people are very puzzled. What's your foundation, right? What's your non-negotiables? What's your values?
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. It's an interesting place that I try and start with people because it's their life, right? And and no matter what God you believe in, and I always tell people, listen, I talk about God, but it's whatever God you believe in. I never try and impose that on anyone. I believe that God put us here in his own image, and that because he wanted to see the world he created, right? What does it really feel like to be in that world? And he gave us choice, right? Or she gave us choice, or the universe gave us choice. The energy gave us choice, and it gave us the ability to create. It put that in our spirit, in our soul, and our soul wants to do that. So if we're here to create, let's create. Let's embrace this amazing power we were given, and let's create the life that we truly want.
Powerful, 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 powerful. And you said a great word, and I want to dive more deeper into it. Foundation. So I want to hear from you, from your perspective. What is a great foundation that someone can set?
Well, see, that's a great question. Because here's the thing. Every time, it's every time. If I were to say to anyone, one of you, tell me about your foundation. Tell me about what is it that you want in life? What's important to you and what are your values? People start to answer that question. Well, at first they think about it, which is great, and then they start to answer it. And eventually we get to a point where they go, I don't know if I'm answering this correctly. And I go, here's the great thing. It's not a quiz. Whatever answer you give is perfect. Mine is peace, love, harmony, balance, and honor. It took time to get there, and it may change over time. But those are the 5 things for me: peace, love, harmony, balance, and honor. So if something or someone or something goes on in my life and it doesn't fit peace, love, harmony, balance, and honor, I have a choice to make. Do I allow it to continue, or the person to continue, or the event to continue, or do I gracefully let it go with love and peace and move on? Do I allow that event to exist, to do whatever it needs to do in this world, or that person to go find somebody or someone or something that will align with them and allow them to live the life that their spirit's choosing to be, and allow myself to go on and be with peace, love, harmony, balance, and honor? So there is no foundation for any one person that's across the board. That's a conversation that each person builds on their own, right? Because it's their journey. And then that's what they go on to create. And I always allow people this space and freedom to say, and it can change. But what are your values? What are your non-negotiables in life? What are important to you to be able to live a happy life going forward so that you can prosper and have abundance in your life, both physically, mentally, and then of all of these things in the world that we love to have?
Yeah. Talking about foundations, that's profound, because don't really hear that out there. Like, what is your foundational stuff? What do you value? What are these things that you have as a must to experience in your life? And for me, I feel that a lot of us were going through life without this foundational core foundation stuff for us. And life, of course, reflects to us stuff to help us to get there to that point. But life can become much easier when we have these core things like, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want to experience, and things are not aligned. Like you said, make a choice. Do I want to continue or not continue?
Right.
That's profound, and it's like a simple step, but it's something that's skipped.
Say it. Say what you were just going to say, because that's what people say to me. It's scary.
Question now is like, what are you afraid of?
Well, it's the freedom of choice, right? And so most people, I think a lot of people have made choices in the past that they regret, right? So what I tell people is that today something will happen, good, bad, or indifferent. Something happens every day. And tomorrow we will look back on it, or the next day, and we will attach something to it, a feeling. In a week or a month from now, it becomes a memory, right? And then a year from now, it's an event that we look back on with that emotion that we've attached to it, or the label. And it becomes our lifetime. And we do that over and over again. So I think the fear is that you're telling me that my mind, my spirit, and my soul is telling me that I want peace, love, harmony, balance, and honor. Okay. And you're telling me that I have the choice to make that. I have all of this freedom. It's the freedom that scares people, right? Because now there's no more boundaries and limitations on what they can do in their life. And they know that the choice to create is their own. So now we have no one to blame. We have no one to point the finger at. And if things go on in our life that necessarily don't please us, we know that we're in complete control of it. But once you get past that and you start to have fun with it, and you start to play with it, and you start to see the magic in it, and you start to go, oh, so I woke up today and I've always wanted to do something, and you go do it. Whether you like it at the end or not, but you go do that thing without worrying about what anyone's going to say or do, right? You just go do it. Or you allow yourself to feel the emotion of something. that freedom then gets to unleash the chains, starts to take the walls of the prison down. And that voices in our head, which is our paradigm, our subconscious, starts to quiet down. And then that freedom can be a blessing.
So you're nodding over there. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a huge point of discussion, freedom of choice or freedom from choice. And I'm sure that there are many instances where people subconsciously make choices so that they, quote unquote, don't have a choice, later on in life. And I mean, it all makes sense, especially with the paradigm that we're talking about with therapy versus coaching. My personal opinion is that therapy is for coping and that coaching is for empowerment. And the analogy that you use of like moving forward, it's like we could think of it as an escalator, like the thought momentum. People in traumatic experiences, they're always looking back at that. They're looking right at it and saying, I don't want that, while manifesting it in the present moment. Right. So when you're able to shift that, walking up the down escalator momentum and have the person realize that they are also the escalator, then the momentum gets to shift and they're like, hey, I've got this power and I don't even know what to do with it. And it's like, that's the place that we get to start creating.
Yes. And that's where the fear comes in at first, because I have all this power. I don't know what to do with it. Right. And you're so right when you say that people, they go around and talking about all the things that they don't want, or they talk about things in lack. Like, I just pray that I pray that I want more money. When you pray that way, right, you are acknowledging, right, that you don't have money, or you don't have peace, or you don't have love, right? So you're absolutely correct. What you put out, you'll get back. So when you come from a place of natural abundance, right, that I can create what I want, and I can have the safe, loving space that I want, I can have the relationship that my heart and soul desires, that I was put here with that power to do that, and that it wasn't set up as some nasty trick, right, to trick us into believing we can do that. And we have faith in whatever we believe in, then that freedom becomes a superpower when you embrace it that way.
Right.
I actually had someone this weekend say to me, they said, they were talking about money, and they were taught that, if you worship money, that's a bad thing, right? Because we were talking about God. And I was like, well, do you worship money over God? And they were like, no. And I says, well, so you desire to have more money. I says, if you turn to whatever faith you believe in, whatever thing, even if it's nothing, even if you just pray in your own head to nothing, right? But if you say, this is what I desire, right? And I would love to collaborate with you, right? Through love and peace to get what I desire. You're not worshiping one thing over another. You're just allowing it to come in your life, and you are working with the energy that's out there to give you what you want. And what I tell people is if you think it's bad to do all of these things, and all of these things were put in front of us only as a bad joke or as a bad trick, then whatever you believe in, you believe is evil, right? And has this nasty side to it. I tend to believe that's not the case. We're just given choice, freedom of choice. You get to an intersection, you make a left or a right, right? Sometimes you make a turn and it works out great. And other times it doesn't, because we have a lesson to learn. Just a lesson. Don't make this big thing out of it. Take the lesson. Don't attach all these horrible feelings to it and move on. Because quite often we get those lessons and nobody's around. No one will even know that we went through the lesson, right? So the only person who we're really hurting is ourselves, because no one will ever know what we've been through most times.
Right. Which is like, you're talking about foundations. Do you feel that people are building foundations just by speaking to you and being able to validate their experience?
Well, I think what I try and do is, yes, we want to build a foundation, but we need to realize that some of the foundation we currently walk with in life may have been built by other people and their perceptions of what we should do and how we should do it. So the first thing we want to get to the point of is that you can build your own foundation. And this is where we usually head into the past, because as they talk about the things that they truly want in their life, they'll say, well, I talked to a friend, or I talked to this one, or I talked to that one. And they tell me, well, that's ridiculous, or just be happy with what you have, or just settle, or just do this, or just do that. And they've done that. So the first step is realizing that your foundation is your own, right? So I never come with an agenda of telling you what your foundation should be. I just help you explore in a safe place, right? Non-judgmental. And then let's talk about it. And sometimes the list can get long. So we kind of whittle it down, right? Of what fits where with them, how they're feeling about it. And then they start to build their own foundation. But the first step is to realize that quite often we build a foundation built on other people's thoughts and perceptions of what will make other people happy, right? We start to become people pleaser, or we build a foundation of perfection, which is exhausting, right? Perfection can be exhausting because we never usually finish things, and we're always worried about the outcome instead of embracing the outcome and looking forward to it. So that's why the questions come up. Am I answering this right? Am I doing this right? It's yours, right? Don't worry about what other people are saying or what they may say. You never have to tell anyone about this, right? It's yours. So I help them build their own while helping them realize to get rid of all of this stuff that they've taken on to maybe make others happy, or because they saw it make somebody else happy. So they went, wow, if it makes them happy, it must make me happy too. I hope that I answered that question. I hope that made sense.
I like this theme of foundation. Because like, I was just thinking about it. Do you feel that potentially people sometimes make a foundation out of fear?
Oh, absolutely.
Meaning like, okay, I'm gonna limit myself in this way, so that way, because I'm afraid of potentially being ridiculed if I get it wrong or things like that.
Perfectionists do that all the time, right? So they limit themselves. They don't want to get involved in new things or take on new tasks. Sometimes they get very settled in what they do, right? And they don't want to give the reins over to other people so that they can grow and find out more about themselves or what they truly want to do in life. So they absolutely build it in fear. And they also build it out of fear sometimes because they want to please the people around them, right? And they want people to be happy with their choices, and they want their friends to not leave them, right? Or a person that's important in their life to not leave them should they speak their mind about what they really feel. I mean, look how hard the pain they go through to decide what they want to have for dinner when they have free choice to go wherever they want. Right? And if you talk to a lot of those people, they go, what do you want? I don't know. What do you want? What do you want? And that's all about finding out, well, whatever you want, maybe I'll just go along with that because it'll make you happy. Instead of just saying, what you want for dinner.
That's like a perfect example of how abundance is around us all the time, and we don't really get aware to that, like abundance of food. I don't know. It's so much abundance of food, and I don't know which one I want to get.
Right. And then an hour goes by, an hour and a half goes by. Everybody's crabby now because nobody's eating. Right? And still trying to figure out what you want to have for dinner. Just throw it out there. You may help somebody else out by saying, "No, I'm in the mood for pizza today." I mean, I'm in the mood for pizza every day. And somebody say, "Oh, it kind of sounds good." Just throw it out there, right? So that's another way, right, of the freedom of choice, and is showing how that fear of not being in alignment with somebody else, we automatically start to limit our own foundation of what makes us happy and what our spirit and our soul craves to move forward, right? To live the life that we were given. We were given this life to live, and we were all put here for a purpose. Embrace it. As I was telling you earlier, I don't care. When I work with people, I talk to people, I don't care where they come from. I don't care what their soul is screaming for. I don't care what they believe in, what religion they believe in, what party they belong to, where they come from in life. I don't care about their skin color, their sexual orientation. We were blessed with this world. The people were blessed. We were given a gift of this world. And it's up to us to make the most out of it. It's up to us to save it in any way you think it needs to be saved or improved upon. That's part of creating. That's part of the blessing that we were given. And you'll see, we'll come together as people when something traumatic happens. And I always go back to 9/11 because people say, well, what does that mean? Well, on 9/11, when they were digging at 9/11, nobody cared what the person next to them looked like or where they lived or where they came from. When they needed water or they needed food, nobody cared who cooked it and where it came from, right? When people were sick and hurting and needed to be pulled out of a hole, they didn't care what hand reached in. We came together as humans, right? And we helped each other. It happens when natural disasters happen. We come together as humans. We find a common belief or an enemy to fight against as humans. And then what happens is that when that starts to go away, we go back into our silos that we've built. And we get back on our little things instead of really helping out and reaching out and helping each other.
Mm.
And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm still on the coaching icebreakers that are just brilliant that you're talking about here. Just asking a new client, like, do you have trouble choosing what to eat?
Yeah.
Do you have problems finding a show on Netflix? Like, let's start there.
Or I ask them about the voices in their head, and they go, I have no voices in my head. I don't talk to myself like that. I mean, I have conversations about, like, when I'm going to get up in the morning and where, and oh my God, am I going to be late? And I go, oh, so you have absolutely no voices in your head. Got it. We're all good on that one. We can move on to the next thing. But yeah, those are the important things, right? And I think those tiny examples take some of the, you see people relax, right? Because they know it's okay. We all feel it. We all go through it, right? We all have those moments in our life. We're coaches, but we have people who we work with because we go through those emotions. That's okay. That's being human. It's not bad. That's life, right? But instead of attaching something horrible label to it or emotion to it, let's talk about how we can use it to better ourselves or somebody else, right? Getting to know someone, asking probing questions is really what helping others, really truly wanting to be of service with others is about. When I was in corporate America, I think what made me successful leading people was because I cared about them too, right? And I wanted to know about them, right? How can we align our goals and your goals and the company's goals and the organization goals so we're all getting something out of it? Because in the long run, money kind of wears, it's the luster of money wears out. Right? When you're putting in those long hours or those long days and you're missing your family, there's got to be something more to it. And that's, again, about your foundation. You can have a foundation at work, by the way, and you can have a foundation in your life, and those two can align and overlap in some places and can be different in others. So when I work with people who are going through a transition at work or having a tough time at work, we talk about it there too, right? What's important about work? What's your non-negotiables? People will talk about ethics. People will talk about working with people who want to be part of a team. If that's their foundation, I want to be part of a team, right? So other people, it's about having the autonomy to work alone, but knowing that I have support if I need it, right? So that can help them get aligned into a profession or a job that they want. To me, foundation is that you build a house on a strong foundation, it can withstand most things, most storms, most things that come along. So why wouldn't you want to build your life on that same strong, powerful foundation that aligns with what your spirit and soul want?
Great question.
Can't answer.
Just we don't think about it. We get caught up in the things of this world and making people happy. My wife calls it being a people pleaser.
Yeah, and that can be an endless loop of pleasing others all the time because it's like an external stimulant. Let me please this person, please this person, please this person, please this person. But then it's like, when are you going to please yourself?
And often
right.
people pleasing tactics, aren't even the thing that the person actually wants.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's just an attempt.
Yeah.
So that's such a phenomenal point. I have worked with people who say, they're in a relationship and they go, I was doing everything they wanted and we had this fight, and they just looked at me and they said, in different terms and words, because when you fight, you do that. Just why don't you just be who you are? Just do what you want to do. And they go, and I've been trying to make them happy all along. Now, in a relationship, it's always very powerful to communicate and hear the other person, right? And give to the other person, right? And love should be unconditional, which is why most people, a lot of people, they have a relationship with a pet because they usually get unconditional love, right? As humans, we think we're evolved, but we have very hard time giving unconditional love. Now, no one's perfect all the time, and people can annoy you and do things. So I say that because a lot of people have problems in their relationships because they're always trying to please others. And they're looking for someone else to love them. And they haven't started to love themselves first because they think it's selfish, right? They think self-care and self-love is selfish. So a big hurdle we have to get over is them feeling comfortable and confident with that. To be able to give true love, you have to receive it. And the first person you have to receive it from is yourself.
My question, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who are on the edge right now and wanted to know about that, is like, okay, I know, and a lot of people are coming to the realization, oh yeah, I know that I need to love myself first and all those other things. So like, how do I start? What do I need to do to like really start loving myself more? So like for somebody who would ask that type of question, what would your response be to that?
So that's great. So let's go see. And I tell them, that's a great question. We're going to go right back to where we started. What does your heart and soul want in life? Right? What does your spirit want? What life do you want? As soon as you start to give that to yourself, you will start to have shown yourself true love. The love of energy, of God, of the universe, of whatever. As soon as you start to release the darkness, you then open up yourself for the light to come in, right? And part of that life, when you start to give to yourself, is love. So it can be anything. Maybe go to the gym. Maybe read a book you've been putting off forever because you've been putting everybody else first and not feeling guilty about it because it's not selfish. Or maybe it's a great meal. Or maybe it's that hobby that you've always wanted to get into, but you put everybody else first. It's not saying that you shouldn't be there for people, right? Because that gets back to before, right? We should always take down the silos and be there for each other. Get to know the person next to you and what life is really like for that person, right? But at some point, you got to give to yourself because the best part of giving is receiving. And we want everyone else to do that for us. But it starts with us because COVID is driving people crazy because they're alone by themselves, right? Because what do you do with yourself? You're so used to the outside stimulus and you're so used to trying to gain pleasure from everyone else that now you have to look deep inside. And somebody said that to me recently. I've been home and it's making me look deep inside and it's making me go deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole and question a lot of things in my life, including my relationship. And I've gotten depressed and I can't sleep and this and that. And I go, that's the journey, right? But it doesn't have to be painful. Just allow it. And then start to talk to yourself about what you really want in your heart and in your soul. What really makes you happy? Which usually takes us back, by the way, to the past, because they'll remember a time in their past where they did something that made them really happy, whatever it was. And they go, yeah. And then they may come say, yeah, but so-and-so thought it was dumb, or my parents, or this, or it got busy. But that was so much fun. And I go, well, that's where you start.
Right, back to that people pleasing. Like, yeah. Oh, this thing brought me the greatest fun and joy, but then this person said that was bad, so then I stopped doing it.
Right. Well, the friends closest to me hated roller coasters, so I stopped going on them.
Wow.
Instead of finding people who love roller coasters and allowing the other people to go do the things that make them happy. we have a responsibility in that. The more we hold on to events and people and things, right, we don't allow them to be free. And that includes negativity and resentment and hate. The longer that we hold on to that for people and events, we never allow them to truly be free. We never allow ourselves to be free.
Yeah. We're limiting ourselves in the infinite possibility and infinite moment that's going on all the time.
Right.
Based upon that one little scope of resent and holding bitterness towards people from our past experiences, or even what's happening too. People have external bitterness and all this other stuff towards people they don't even know about. It's just labels or whatever, and this bitterness compared to just having a open dialogue with somebody, get to understand somebody. And the fact that, like, we all have done something before that we may have potentially caused harm against somebody else, or we may have even been harmed by someone too. And it's like it's life. Life has lessons, but there's a blessing in the lessons once we're able to see that we're the blessing.
Right. It was brought to our life for a reason. You're absolutely correct. There's a blessing, there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
So what do we choose to do with it? Right. And how do we choose to label it, or what emotion do we attach to it? And then how do we lovingly and with grace let it go?
Yeah. And it's perfect for a perfect segue, because like there's people, I'm sure there's people out there who have this stuff and they're like, oh yeah, I want to overcome these things or whatever. I'm having I'm having trouble doing it. Or maybe they've been trying to do external ways of trying to quote unquote deal with it, whether it's an addiction to something, or even before COVID, going out, all these different stuff, these stimulants to keep us not with being with ourselves. And this is the perfect segue once again, is like there's support out there for these type of people who are looking for that. But also I wanted to bring it back too for what you said, for people who may have like roller coasters and somebody told them roller coasters are bad, but then from having a conversation, oh yeah, I would really like to still do roller coasters. And it's like, oh wait, there's people out there who like what you do, no matter how weird somebody else may have seen or somebody else may have said that it was. There's always somebody else out there that likes to do the same thing, like every single, whatever it may be.
Right. You're absolutely correct. And, I tell people, we can use social media and all the outlets we have nowadays in any way we want, right? So you can use it to draw negativity, or you can use it for creativity. You can use it for information, or you can use it just to get the gossip on what's the lowdown, right? You can use it to build people up, or you can use it to bring people down. So you're right. Yeah, I'm sure if we went into YouTube or Facebook or Instagram and typed in roller coasters, how many groups would come up for roller coasters? And I tell people that. Right, I worked with somebody who went all the way back to when they were 15, that they loved a certain music. And I says, well, if you really love that music and it still resonates with you, find people who love that music. And it was just this look of like, really? Right. And that's where the freedom comes in. So you're right. We have a choice to embrace what our spirit and our soul loves, whatever that may be, man. You may love a food that I may taste it and go like, oh my God, I can't believe you eat this, right? And then I may give you something and you may go, Jim, listen, I love you, dude, but I've never eaten that stuff ever again. That's okay. Does it mean that you shouldn't eat what you eat and I shouldn't eat what I eat? No, because the next thing you may give me may be awesome. Right? So I tell people, you don't have to release those people in your life just because you like a different food than somebody else. Because people say, well, what are you saying? I have to release everyone. I go, no. Sometimes releasing somebody is just allowing them to enjoy the food or the roller coaster. And then you guys meet up at something else you both enjoy together. Now, sometimes you release things or events or material things or people because it just doesn't fit into the foundation. It's really, you don't have anything that aligns. Completely different story. You can choose in your life to do whatever you want to do. Right. I wanted to be a baseball player. So people say that to me, well, what did you want to do? I say, well, I wanted to be a baseball player. They go, well, why didn't you be a baseball player? Because you know what? I tried and I worked at it hard. But my purpose here is not to be a baseball player. Now, I can sit around and lament for the rest of my life why I'm not a baseball player. Or I can say, look back at all the fun memories of being a baseball player that I actually had when I played and go, man, well, that was a hell of a ride. That was a hell of a ride I went on. That was awesome. What's your mindset? What do you want to let in, and how do you want to feed your soul? I get the same thing when people talk about God. If there's truly a God, how come people are in pain and suffering? Why do infants die? And I go, well, because we were put here, we have free choice. And I says, we don't know what the grand plan is. I don't know, but maybe that soul had finished its time here. Or maybe somebody has a lesson to learn that they're going through, and maybe they'll go through it. Or maybe that's the choice they made because that's where they want to be right now. But who are we to question that?
Yeah.
Right? That's that whole judgment-free, loving someone for who they are. Now, it doesn't mean that we should look back, and this always comes up because people will throw up to, well, you're trying to tell me that Hitler had a purpose, and I've gotten that, right? And I go, yeah. And this, at the moment we forget about what happened, we'll repeat it again, right? We have to remember the events that took place, and we have to thank all those people, right, who gave of themselves, right, or everything they had was taken from them, right, so that we could be in a better place today. It doesn't mean that we should raise a flag and say that was wonderful. It could be anyone in this world, right? I've had people bring up serial killers to me, and I go, no. There's a lesson, right? There's a lesson there that people are harmed, right? Sometimes when they're younger, and it carries forth to when they're an adult. And look how that harm can truly devastate someone's life and then others' life. So the next time you get upset with somebody who's driving too slow on the parkway or the road in front of you, or pulls into a spot in front of you, or the line's not moving fast enough in the food store, instead of pouring anger on them or putting them down or belittling them, think about what may be going on in their life, right? Where are they coming from right now? What are they going through that maybe they just need, instead of being beaten up, they need some love?
Compassion.
Right. That's our role. That's our role.
Wow. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. Oh, wow. What time? Oh, wow. We're there, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the time? Yeah. Wow. It's almost an hour already of this conversation.
Yeah.
It's been so profound and just so much magical gems that you dropped in this episode, for not only for our audience, but for ourselves. And going to allow this opportunity for you, if you can have or leave one, we already have a comment already.
Okay.
Comment come up, and this is from our mutual coach and friend, Steve. Beautiful, beyond extraordinary. Jim, sounds like you sure go to bat for the people blessed to be served by you. Love you all. Love you too, brother.
Love you too, Steve. Thank you for allowing me to flourish in this way and be the person and the purpose that God put me here for. I appreciate it.
Whew.
And thank you to both you two beautiful people for gracing me with an opportunity to do something as wonderful as this. This is a moment I won't forget.
Yeah. And likewise, this moment is definitely a moment that I won't forget. You helped me tremendously to expand even deeper from this conversation. And whoever's listening to this, I'm sure it helped them to expand as well and look at things from a different perspective. And with that said, if there was one parting message that you would like to give to people out there who are listening, what would that be?
Listen to your spirit. Listen to your soul, right? Let the past be in the past. We can't fix it. Love who you are and what you bring to life, and know that there are many out there who need you and who love you. Embrace what's happened, lovingly forgive it, and move on. And live the life that you were put here to live. Explore your foundation, right? And live it. Love it and embrace it. Be all you can be in life. Big or small, wide or skinny, tall, short, doesn't matter what it is, right? Love it. embrace it and give it to the world. You never know whose life that you can affect. And if anyone ever wants to explore that more, there's plenty of beautiful people out there like me who would love to help them get to it, right? Because we all deserve that.
Wow. Thank you. And last question for you is for the people out there who want to have a deeper conversation with you and also want to shift their foundation, how can people reach out to you? Where can they find you at?
Well, my wife and I have a website, Living Full Volume. We actually have some classes coming up on living abundance in life by finding out who you are, one of them will be getting to what's the foundation. I have a blog out there too, so it's livingfullvolume.com. I'm Jolly Man Jim on Facebook, so you can certainly reach out to me there and drop an instant message or a direct message to me and let me know that you're seeing the podcast and what a beautiful place it was. And if you want to continue that conversation, I would be more than blessed to serve anybody to get to their own magic, right? Their own daily magic, and love who they are and what they bring to this world.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. And such a impactful segment that we just had here. That powerful. Thank you for showing up as you. That's all I can say. Thank you for showing up as you and showcasing your magic as well. And for those who are listening, whether you're listening live or you're listening later on, we appreciate you guys. And if this impacted you as much as impacted us from this episode, share with one person that this can impact. Share it with one person that you know that just hearing this message for where they are can actually help shift where they're at.
Yep.
And then, and with that happening, just imagine, just keep sharing this type of message and this type of energy. What can happen to this collective group that we are all a part of, and shifting that to a whole deeper level and a whole more expansive level.
Amen. I agree with you 100%. And remember, people can find us on Grace Meetings too.
Oh,
we
yeah.
have a Facebook group there too. That people can find us. We get together and we share things and love each other and give people a safe place to talk, just like you guys do here. And my new brother and sister, I love you. I appreciate the magic that you create every day and allowing me to share this experience today. It's been absolutely beautiful.
Love you too, brother. And thank you. And until next time, our audience, stay magical.
Amen. Stay magical.